All right, so I wanted to go through a kind of a real-world experience of regular expressions, and this used to be one of my assignments also, where we read this file in. This is just a text file report that I get on occasion, actually daily, of all of the classes that are being taught at the school. So this is a text report that they spit out from some mainframe computer somewhere, and it's just straight text. That's all it is, just a bunch of text. We don't know what this is in between here, and this is kind of a real-world experience where you might get a report from some old computer system. You have no access to the actual data. You just get this Word document or a text file, and they want to convert this data into something that's usable into a new database that you're going to put on the web or something like that. So this comes into, we want to capture this information in the various fields that they have. Like this is the item number, right? It's got 4 digits. And this is the department number or letter abbreviation. And this is the course number. And this is the section number, etc. And so all of this information we want to capture and put into fields that we might have in our database. All right, so it shows the enrollment and the class caps and things like that we have. So it also has a bunch of garbage up at the beginning that most of the time we'll skip that. We just want to capture this type of information here. So if we look at this data, and I've had to do this countless times in my career, trying to parse data that's just garbage, trying to figure out how you can get at the fields, because we could say, okay, well, I could skip all of the white space here until I find 4 digits, and then that's going to be the item number, right? But if I look down here, well, there's not just white space in here. There's other garbage. These end up being footnotes that you guys see in when you try to register online. They have footnotes. So these are the footnotes. So my particular report doesn't want to care about footnotes, so I'm going to skip those. So let's take this line. This is probably one of the harder lines. So I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to try to figure out how to get at these fields using regular expressions. Okay, and we can do it in Rubular. It's just easier. Here's my test string. I pop it in there. That's one line of code. And obviously that's one line that's got a carriage return at the end. All right. So I need to skip past this. This was the footnote. I need to skip past all of this until I get to here. So what would I do to skip that so that I want to capture just this item number? That's the item number of the class. Well, we don't know how many spaces there are. Keep guessing until it gets there. Okay, yeah. The easier way would be I only want to find 4 digits in a row, right? So I want to skip. You were right on that occasion. I want to have any character 0 or more times. That's the 0 or more times, until I find 4 digits in a row. So what do I say for 4 digits in a row? Okay? Okay, good. So this will get me this piece here, and then I'm going to have some type of white space after that, right? And that's why you have to be careful with this. This gives you a false positive here. This gives you a false match. Why did it go all the way out here? Right. Remember that this is greedy, right? That's a greedy expression. So how do I rein it in? I hook it in with my little hook, right? So I put a question mark here, and that should find now the shortest addition, which it doesn't seem to in Rubular. That's interesting. So let's let's maybe do this in IRB and see if we can figure out why that's doing that. No, that's just if I want to, well, yeah, we could. I want to capture this information, so I would put parentheses around that, and that would give me the match. Okay, so that makes it a little easier. That's my 623 is the first item that I found. And then it's going on and finding these other ones here too, right? It's continuing on to find these other 4 digits. So that's my first match. So let's just use parentheses to capture these. That'll make it easier. Now what do I need to do? Let's go back and look at our raw data, wherever my raw data is, and figure out what this is here. If we scroll down, notice that this has an ampersand on this one. So I have to take that into account. I want to capture and it's some number of characters, right? It's not specifically, this one's, well, I don't know what aghert is, but so let's scroll down, make sure that we're getting, here's AIRC, Anth with an ampersand, AppLed, aquatics, architecture. So there's any number of characters. We don't really have, it's not 4 all the time, it's not 5 all the time. But what is its delimiter? What's on either sides of it? White space, okay? And we don't know that this is a tab or a space, so let's just say that it's white space. And how do we say that it's white space? /S. All right, now we know that it has at least one white space. So we do a plus to say we want 1 or more white spaces, but at least one. There could be a couple of spaces in between there. And now we want to capture the next session piece of data, and that might be, we looked through there, it had all uppercase letters, right? And it had an ampersand, was another special character. So how can we say all uppercase letters and an ampersand, or an ampersand? Okay, so we put it in our square brackets, capital A, capital Z, and then an ampersand. All right, and then we close our square bracket. Yes, which we want. This is an A through a Z or an ampersand. You think of these all as or statements in here. Okay, so that gives me, that found an A, right? But I have more than one of those. A plus. I need at least one, right? And so I'm going to say a plus. So until I get to something else. So let's put the plus inside of my match. All right, so now I get ACCT. See how we're walking through the string and pulling out our matches. All right, and what's the delimiter on the other side of it? White space again, so I'd say /S plus. All right, so now I've gotten through all the way through here, and I've been able to pull these out. I now have my first match. Remember the $1 and $2 we talked about yesterday? That would be the item number, that would be $1. The department code would be $2. So I'm starting to pull these out into fields that I can work with. All right, what else? What's the next one here? Well, let's go back to our raw data. And the next one is this course number. So this is like, for this, we're 283. So it's always numbers, right? And it looks like it's always 3 digits. I've never seen a course number that's not 3 digits. Right, so it's 0 padded. Like 0 math 99 would be 099. All right, so I want to capture this. So what would I look for 3 digits in a row?
0 through 9, and in your curly braces, you'd want to put 3.
Okay, a shortcut instead of the 0 through 9 would be what? /D. And I need 3 of those, exactly 3. All right, good. Now I've got my item number, my department code, and my class number. Doing good. Now the next part isn't this fun? This is fun. This is real stuff, man. So we need more white space. See how there's multiple spaces here, right? Multiple spaces. So we get to the section, and it looks like the sections are only 2 digits, right? It looks like there are only 2 uppercase characters. So how do I do 2 uppercase characters? Well, I first have to skip over to my white space, and then I'm going to capture this, and I want to look for A to Z, and I want exactly 2 of those. All right? Now, see how we built it up a little piece at a time, but now take a step back and look at this regular expression. Is that cryptic or what?
Yeah, that's what.
Now, if you had just,
The longest time.
right, so it is. But now you know how to parse this. You can go through and figure out what it's doing by looking at it a character at a time. That would be a really good quiz if I gave you this regular expression, have you write the strings that would match this. That would be good. No. All right, so now we have the section number, and it looks like we have another 4-digit number here. So that is...
And more white space.
And more white space. So what is that 4-digit number here? Well, it's a cluster ID. So we have it sometimes, and we don't have it sometimes. See how messy data is? You got to be kidding me. Sometimes I want this, and sometimes I don't. Yeah, so let's figure that out. I once had to write a regular expression for a large internet company, which I won't mention since I'm recording, and it took me 2 hours just to write the expression.
What about?
And it was about double this, but to get it right is really painful sometimes.
What about looking for the digits and then using type and looking for white space?
Yeah, we might do something like that. So on either side of it, I'm going to have some white space, right? And I'm going to capture something in the middle. So let's try a digit. Were they always going to be digits?
Yeah, it looked like 3 digits.
Look, well, there's 4.
4 digits.
So some number, it looks like they're padded with 0. So if it's there, it's going to have 4 digits, looks like, all right? So if it's there, it's going to have 4 digits. So we're going to look for either, we'll start with a digit 4 or more times, or white space with a plus, right? Because, yeah. White space. So let's...
What if you just put a question mark outside of your parentheses?
Or 1 of that instance, whether or not it shows up.
Say it again.
Use a question mark either inside or outside of the capture for that specific section. 0, or so it could be there or it could not.
If you want it outside, we can.
But would the question mark actually just pertain to the digits and not the actual white space?
Yeah.
Well, you could take out that white space.
Yeah, I could take this out. He's saying to do this,
Mark outside.
which says 0 or 1 of the prior match. So that would work as well, right? That's a possibility. So there are multiple ways to do this, obviously. Let's see, that was after the AN, right? So let's just change this to spaces. And it is capturing spaces here. So that's good. So let's undo that so I get my thing back. So that's another way to do that. That question mark says 0 or 1 of the prior, of the prior match. All right, and then we have white space, and we move on to this HB. Isn't this fun? All right, so I think we'll stop here because we've got to go through the review and the quiz. But you can see how you have to step through it a little at a time. That DB is this admin unit. And then you have to worry about, this has spaces in it. See how that gets a little more difficult? And you might have an Affolter T, right, and a Jones D. You have a number of credits, some number .0, .1, .5, whatever. So it gets a little more complicated. Sometimes it shows you the room, sometimes it shows you arranged, etc. All right? So that's just a real-world example of how you, and I guarantee you'll be doing this in your lifetime. So there's always data that is garbage, and they only have this one leftover file from 10 years ago, and they have to have the data, and you've got to parse it and figure out where it's going. Yeah.
So for real world stuff, would it still be a good idea to test it out in a Rubular?
I do. Now, as soon as I had found Rubular, they didn't have this when I was a kid, but I like it. You just have to be careful about some of the false positives that it gives you. But then I always take it and I'd run it in a real program, make sure I get the data. And in this case, I would have written a Ruby program to bring every line into my program, compare that line against this regular expression, make sure I got data out, things like that. So, yeah, isn't that fun? Yeah. All right, so let's leave Rubular up. Get rid of my nice expression here. That was a beautiful expression. Isn't that great? All right, let's look at the review quiz. And I'm not going to record this, so too bad.